You know, you go in the cafeteria and his head's a foot above everybody when he's sitting at the table.
You see the guy on tape. You don't realize he's going to be that big.
Julius was a different breed.
I said, Julius, come here. I think it'd be in your best interest if you played football. He came to my office, he said, I'm going to try it, Coach.
That's right. From the Carolinas to Canton, Ohio, baby. Julius Peppers in the Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This Hall of Fame class right here, with the exception of 2 people that were inducted. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 people inducted, with the exception of 2 people, which was Randy Gradishar and Steve McMichael. I probably pronounced his name wrong, Randy's name. But they were guys that were way before my time. But with the exception of those 2, this Hall of Fame class right here is probably the first one where I recognize that I grew up watching all of these players. I grew up watching all of these players, and now they're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Started in 2002. I believe Dwight Freeney was in the same class. He's also in. Congratulations to Julius Peppers. Of course, I'm a Carolina fan, so I'm going to highlight him first. But yeah. Yep, same class. Dwight Freeney was in the same class as Julius Peppers. He was picked number 11 overall in the first round, and Peppers was picked 2nd overall. Of course, the first overall pick that year went to the Houston Texans because they were the expansion team that year. They drafted David Carr, quarterback. And the reason I point that out is because the Panthers actually had the worst record in the league the season prior in 2001, when they went 1-15. They won the first game, lost the next 15, worst record. But because the Houston Texans were a new team, expansion team, they got priority in terms of the number 1 overall pick because they had no wins the previous year because they didn't exist. But congratulations to my man Julius Peppers, the 2nd year in a row a Carolina Panther player was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Of course, last year we had Sam Mills. He was a guy that was before my time. But it just goes to show you how fast time flies and just how far we've come along. Like the Panthers, like I talked about the Texans as an expansion team. The Panthers were an expansion team at one point. I believe 30 years ago to this year, 2024, I think 1994 was their first season. 1994 was their first season. And now they have 2 guys inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. One being a guy that I grew up watching. Again, drafted Julius Peppers in 2002. The year before that, were 1-15. That was Steve Smith Sr.'s rookie year. He was just a punt returner back then. And then 2 years later, after 2001, team was in the Super Bowl. Didn't win. I get it. We lost to the Patriots. We didn't win. But it just highlighting the fact that they went from 1 win to 2 short years later playing in the Super Bowl. Came close to winning that Super Bowl. Just highlighting that fact. That's how much of an impact Julius Peppers made. Also, again, Dwight Freeney, Indianapolis Colts, another guy I grew up watching. I mean, he played for other teams, but just like Julius Peppers did, but I'm talking about the teams that we know them for, that they're best known for. Indianapolis Colts won a Super Bowl in 2006 with the Colts against another guy that was inducted into the Hall of Fame that we're going to talk about as well. Won that Super Bowl, and again, these are things that happened 2 decades ago. These guys being drafted and winning Super Bowls almost 2 decades now since the Colts won that Super Bowl, about 18 years now, 17, 18 years. And Devin Hester was in that same Super Bowl that Dwight Freeney played in. Devin Hester. I believe he's the only player to open a Super Bowl by returning a kickoff or a touchdown. That's what Devin Hester was most known for. So, of course, he was going to be a Hall of Famer because, special teams, you got offense, you got defense. But when you're known for something like that, you're going to be, inducted into the Hall of Fame. We don't really talk about many special teams people being inducted into the Hall of Fame. But just like Adam Vinatieri, known for kicking game-winning field goals in Super Bowls, Hall of Famer. Devin Hester, like 20 touchdown returns, was close to winning that Super Bowl. They had offense, they probably would have won that Super Bowl, but congratulations to Devin Hester, also in the Hall of Fame. We got my guy Patrick Willis, San Francisco 49ers. He's in the Hall of Fame now. He retired about, I want to say, 10 years ago. So he probably should have been in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what took so long with Patrick Willis. Let me see what Patrick Willis retired. Let me get an exact number on that. I believe he retired 10 years ago, that year after Jim Harbaugh stepped down as the 49ers coach, or was fired, whatever narrative they running with or we're running with. That's when Patrick Willis, let's see. I remember, in the 2007 draft, retired in 2014. So yeah, he's a guy that should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. Dwight Freeney didn't get in last year. He should have been in last year. I believe this was Julius Peppers' first year of eligibility. If I'm not mistaken, he retired in 2018, so 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So yeah, that's 5 years, because you have to be retired for 5 years to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. So this is Julius Peppers' first ballot Hall of Famer. And back to Patrick Willis, Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2007, just like Julius Peppers won Defensive Rookie of the Year his rookie season in 02. Patrick Willis, first team All-Pro in 07, 7-time Pro Bowler. He's a guy, in my opinion, that, it was long overdue. He should have been there. But he's here, and let's all rejoice at that. Congratulations also to Patrick Willis. He was a beast during his time. And also we got Andre Johnson, the Houston Texan. We had Devin Hester representing the Bears. Also, you can say Julius Peppers representing the Bears, but Andre Johnson representing the Texans. The first, we talked about it earlier, expansion teams. The first ever Houston Texan to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The Texans been around since 2002, so a little over 20 years, building some equity up. Houston Texans yet to, I believe, even make it to an AFC Championship game, but but this year could be different. I wasn't throwing shade, but this year could be different. They've been around a long time, and this is probably the best team they've ever had. I remember the days of Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson and what's my guy name on the beat, J.J. Watt and those dudes. I even remember when they drafted Mario Williams. He was a beast in his time. Great football player. But they just weren't a great team. They didn't become a good team, like playoffs. It was 2000 and Andre Johnson was on this team. So let's check out his stats that year. But it was 2009 when you saw flashes of the Houston Texans, when you saw what they could be. I remember Andre Johnson's the guy's finished his career, last played for the Titans in 2016, Colts 2015, but majority of his career with the Texans, of course, that's what we know Andre Johnson for, playing with the Houston Texans. 7-time Pro Bowler. I didn't even go over Julius Peppers' stats. Ain't that something? I didn't even go over my own guy's stats. 159 sacks, though. Most sacks since 1982. The only player with 159 sacks and 10 interceptions in NFL history. Julius Peppers. But, still shaded. I didn't go over his stats. Andre Johnson, 14,185 receiving yards, 1,062 receptions, 70 touchdowns. And it was in 2009. Let's see, he played all 16 games that year and had over 1,500 yards with 9 touchdowns. And that was the season. That was the season where the Texans finished 8-8. 9-7 actually. I just said 8-8 without knowing, but it popped up. It was 9-7. They finished 9-7. Now they didn't make the playoffs, but I remember the game. There it is when they beat the New England Patriots, the last game of the season, and that was their first winning season in franchise history. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I see here no, I was wrong about that. I would have been wrong about that had I said it. I was going to say they beat the Colts, but I'm looking now. They got swept by the Colts. But they did finish 9-7, and we saw the flashes from the Houston Texans that season. And you saw I just read you Andre Johnson's numbers, 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns. And they took a little step back in 2010, where they finished 6-10. But then in 2011, that's when they got to the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, beat the Bengals in the wild card, and lost to the Ravens in the divisional round. And then the very next year, beat the Bengals again in 2012. They were 12-4. This was their best team at the time before this season. I think this season is their best team. But they beat the Patriots. Right. And in 2012, no, they lost to the Patriots 41-28, but they beat the Bengals the week prior. But yeah, so Andre Johnson, like I said, another guy I grew up watching, definitely a legend in the game. And even in that year in 2012, he had 1,500 yards again. But definitely, like I said, I'll say it again, the first class where I could look at all these guys except the senior, like the Randy Gradisher, I still can't say his name, and Steve McMichael. With the exception of the 2 seniors, I recognize everyone in this class, and I grew up watching them, and that is a sight to see right there. So big shouts out to the Hall of Famers, Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, Patrick Willis. So that was a sight to see, because it was a real eye opener for me. I was like, wait a minute, I'm getting old. I know all these dudes. Now they in the Hall of Fame. They don't put young guys in the Hall of Fame. They put people who retired in the Hall of Fame. These dudes are like in their 40s now. That's Andre Johnson. I know Freeney and like we said, Freeney and Peppers are 44. Andre Johnson is 43. Devin Hester probably in his late 30s. Patrick Willis probably in his late 30s. Well, yeah, in his late 30s. So, like I said, that was a sight to see. The big story, of course, in the actual football game between the Bears and the Texans, we knew that the starters weren't going to play. We knew we weren't going to see Caleb Williams in uniform, the number 1 overall pick, and C.J. Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Joe Mixon, all them dudes in uniform. This is the Hall of Fame game. This is an extra game for these 2 teams, so they're not going to play these guys. So the weather ended up cutting the game short. Bears won the game 21-17. They first delayed the game due to severe weather. There was a big rainstorm that just came over that area all of a sudden. But the biggest story coming out of this, what people were most likely were looking at mostly, was the new kickoff rule. They're mostly looking at the kickoff rule. And the new kickoff rule, we'll go over it. We'll look at it right here. Put it up on the screen one moment. We'll talk about the new kickoff rule. So, dynamic kickoff details. NFL clubs have approved a new kickoff rule for the 2024 season. The ball is kicked from the 35-yard line, same as current rule. We know that. Safety kicks would be from the 20-yard line, same as current rule. Now the alignment, here's the changes right here. All kicking team players other than the kicker will line up with 1 foot on the receiving team's 40-yard line. Kicker cannot cross the 50-yard line until the ball touches the ground or player in landing zone or end zone. The 10 kicking team players cannot move until the ball hits the ground or player in landing zone or in end zone. So that was It used to be last year and years prior that once the ball is kicked, the players can take off. But now I guess this rule is set up so that, as they were saying on television, to bring back the dynamic of the kickoff return, the kick return, and of course they're going to say for player safety as well. So that was the setup of the that was the meaning of the new rule, and it is only for one season. They're going to try it out and see how it goes, and then they'll probably abandon it like they did another rule that we'll talk about it at the end, but like they did another rule about 4 or 5 years ago. So setup zone, a 5-yard area from the 35 to the 30-yard line, where at least 9 receiving team players must line up. At least 7 players with foot on the 35-yard line, restraining line, with alignment requirements outside numbers to hashes and inside hashes. I think you guys all get this part, but the landing zone, this is the part I really want to get to. Landing zone is the area between the receiving team goals line and the 20-yard line. That's the landing zone of the football. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone, treated like kickoff, just treat it like a kickoff out of bounds, and the ball will be spotted at the opponent's 40-yard line. So if you were short of that landing zone, you have to kick it in that zone. If you're short of that zone, which most kickers shouldn't be, but we're gonna see some bloopers this year for sure, then it'll be treated as if the ball went out of bounds. Any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned. Any kick that hits in the landing zone and then goes into the end zone must be returned or down by a receiving team. If down, then touchback at the 20-yard line. Kick hits in the end zone, stays in bounds, return or down. If you're down, then touchback at the 30-yard line. Any kick that goes out of the back of the end zone and the air bounces, touchback at the 30-yard line. So my thoughts on this rule, I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm willing to give it a chance because it looked like from the way it was set up, it looked weird, but that's just because it's something we've never seen before. But it looked like something that has potential. It has potential. I didn't expect any dynamic plays, kick returns tonight or things like that because, well, kick returns, yeah, but in terms of how teams would kick the ball, I didn't really have too much of an expectation because teams, both sides, are going to hide things. They're not going to show everything in preseason, especially in a Hall of Fame game. So I'm willing to give this rule a chance because I think it has potential, and I'm willing to wait until the regular season to see, if it pans out. And like I said, it's only a one year thing. It's not a permanent change unless they're willing to give it a test trial for this season to see how things go, and they'll abandon it if they're unhappy with it, just like they did. Remember the pass interference rule change in 2020, and we all know how that rule change came about. When in the NFC Championship game the year prior in 2019, Saints and Rams, or 2018. 2018 is when the act occurred. 2018, Saints and Rams NFC Championship game. The defender hit the Saints receiver well before the ball got to him, and the refs missed the call. We all know that play, that infamous none call. And therefore, because of the backlash and everything, the NFL decided, we got to make things right. So they implemented a rule in 2019 that you could challenge pass interference calls, which was it was stupid to me, to be honest, for lack of a better term. It was stupid. I did not like the rule change at all because, look, was it a blatant miscall? Yes, but those things happen. That's still a play that you have to leave up to the referee. You can't stop the game every time somebody feels they were, pass interference and challenge it. It just didn't help the game at all, and they got rid of it after one season, and I don't blame them for that. So it didn't come back during the 2020 season for good reason. It wasn't a good rule change, and we'll see about this new kickoff rule change. Now, one thing about the kickoff rule change I don't like. I don't like the onside kick rule change. So with the new onside kick rules, onside kicks are illegal before the fourth quarter. Team must be losing to kick an onside kick. Team must announce intention to kick an onside kick ahead of time. It doesn't make sense to me. I didn't like it, and a buddy of mine texted me, and he said this, and I thought it was interesting. He said, they think they're saving their league but one day they will look back and realize they were killing it, because if football is so dangerous, you have to eliminate almost every fun aspect of it. It's not worth existing. And I agree with that. Onside kicks were a fun aspect of the game. You can still do it, but you have to be losing. It has to be the fourth quarter, and you have to announce ahead of time that you're doing it. It completely makes the Super Bowl between the Saints and Colts about 14, 15 years ago. So it's like telling us, oh, that's illegal. When the Saints came out in the second half and shocked the whole world by attempting an onside kick, and then they recovered it. It was one of those big pops of the game because no one saw that coming. They opened up the half of a close game. Open up the half, not the fourth quarter. Open up the half by doing an onside kick. They recovered it, and everybody just cheered for that because nobody saw that coming. That's one of the fun aspects of the game, because you never know when it's going to happen. And you're taking that away for what? That's a player safety issue. That's like, what's next? You gonna tell me in a couple years that I can only run on first and second down? No run plays are allowed on third and fourth down? Why would you run on fourth down anyway, depending on where you are? And I have to tell you which way I'm running. I have to basically just give you my playbook. Is that next? Give up the playbook? Announce every play that you're running. I don't like this rule change right here. I'm all for giving the kickoff rule change a chance, but the onside kick, they missed me with that